The transmission was received by every member of the Galactic Council simultaneously. The moment the words echoed across the communication channels, silence fell. The Council was a gathering of species that controlled the vast majority of the galaxy. They represented the most ancient, the most powerful, and the most ruthless civilizations in existence. Wars between them were the stuff of legend, and for centuries they had maintained a precarious peace, enforcing order through intimidation, diplomacy, and, when necessary, brutal force. But this was different. The message from Earth wasn't a demand for aid or an inquiry into the ways of the more advanced races. It wasn't a plea for recognition or a request for a seat at the galactic table. No, it was a warning, issued with the simplicity and directness of a species who had finally realized their own worth. Our politeness has ended. Prepare for the consequences. The words echoed in the minds of those who received the transmission, their weight growing heavier with each passing second. It wasn't a message of aggression, nor was it a promise of vengeance. It was a simple statement of fact. Humanity was done with diplomacy. It was done with appeasement. And most importantly, it was done with fear. The first speaker of the Galactic Council, a being of immense age and wisdom, was the first to break the silence. His species, the Zoran, had lived for millennia, and he had never known a time when the galaxy wasn't governed by power dynamics, either through military might or political manipulation. To him, Earth was an insignificant world, primitive, backward, and easily controlled. The message must have been a mistake. It was absurd to think that a single planet, especially one as new to the galactic stage as Earth, could challenge the order of the universe. Dismiss it, the first speaker ordered with a dismissive wave. It's nothing more than a foolish attempt to gain attention. We've all seen these sorts of messages before, from species hoping to make a name for themselves. There's nothing to fear. But not everyone in the council shared his view. A few of the more cautious leaders, including representatives from the Meraxians and the Valkyrie, exchanged uneasy glances. The Meraxians were a species known for their cunning strategies and deceptive warfare, while the Valkyrie, though small in stature, possessed remarkable technological prowess. They had an unsettling sense of foresight, an ability to read situations before they unfolded. The human species, they've never had the means to challenge us before. The Valkyrie representative, a sharp-eyed figure named Elric, said carefully. But there's something different about this. I sense something has changed on Earth. Elric's words weren't taken lightly. The Valkyrie were famous for their ability to sense shifts in the balance of power. If they were concerned, others should take note. The first speaker, growing irritated, scoffed at the notion. Are you suggesting that we fear a species with no more than a handful of advanced weapons and a century's worth of history? I've seen empires crumble at the hands of far more formidable adversaries than the humans. If they attempt to act, we'll simply crush them. But Elric's expression didn't soften. I have seen threats before, but never once so assured of its place. Earth's message wasn't just a declaration of anger. It was a promise. If they intend to act, we may not be the ones to crush them. The tension in the room deepened as the implications of Elric's words sank in. The first speaker's response was sharp, but there was an undeniable flicker of doubt in his eyes. After all, if a species as young as humanity was bold enough to make such a statement, perhaps there was more to them than met the eye. We'll send a response, the first speaker said finally. A simple reminder of the power we wield. Let's remind Earth of their place in the galaxy. He motioned for the Council's military division to prepare a fleet, confident that this would be a minor irritation that would soon be squashed. But as the orders were sent out, the Council couldn't shake the feeling that Earth was no longer the helpless, naive planet it once appeared to be. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, the hum of a distant war began to stir. It was only the beginning. On Earth, the calm that had once defined the world's approach to the galaxy was now shattered. For decades, humanity had adhered to a policy of diplomacy, humbly seeking to avoid conflict with the galactic powers that loomed above them. Earth's technology, though impressive by human standards, was nowhere near the level of the advanced species that roamed the stars. The idea of confronting the galaxy's might was a distant dream until now. The shift began quietly, buried beneath the surface of everyday life. Earth's governments had long been aware of their growing scientific capabilities, but they had kept their discoveries under wraps, wary of provoking the wrath of galactic empires. But as the decades passed, something began to change. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in long-forgotten ruins and hidden caves, humanity had uncovered the remnants of an ancient civilization, one far older and more advanced than any species currently in the galaxy. The artifacts they unearthed weren't just relics of a lost era, they were keys to unlocking unimaginable power. The discovery of these relics sparked an unprecedented global effort to decode their mysteries. Scientists, engineers, and inventors from every corner of the world were drawn together, working in secret to unlock the technologies that had once belonged to a race that had vanished long before humanity took its first steps into the stars. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, humanity realized they were no longer bound by the limitations that had once defined their progress. Earth's technology surged forward at a pace no one had anticipated. The planet's energy systems were revolutionized, tapping into powers previously thought impossible. Weapons of unimaginable destruction, capable of challenging the mightiest fleets in the galaxy, were created. But it wasn't just the physical technology that set Earth apart, it was the knowledge that came with it. A hidden understanding of strategy, psychology, and warfare gleaned from the ancient civilization gave Earth's leaders an edge that no one could foresee. The global powers, once fractured by political divisions and historical grievances, found common ground in the face of this new reality. The United Nations, now a more unified body than ever before, formed a special council tasked with overseeing Earth's newfound capabilities. The world's most brilliant minds, backed by untold resources, worked in unison to prepare for what was coming, the arrival of the Galactic Council. And when they came, Earth would no longer cower in fear. Humanity's new strategy was clear. They would no longer beg for recognition. Earth's leaders understood that the Galactic Council would only see them as a threat if they proved their worth, if they demonstrated that they were capable of standing toe-to-toe with the galaxy's mightiest. The warning sent to the Council wasn't a bluff. It was the first step in a larger plan. Earth's politeness had ended, but it wasn't just about defense. It was about ensuring that humanity had a seat at the table, not as supplicants, but as equals, if not more than equals. Earth had learned from the rise and fall of civilizations. Empires had been built on the backs of the weak and crushed by their own hubris. Humanity had no intention of repeating history. With every passing day, Earth's technological advancements accelerated. They built fleets of ships powered by energy sources unknown to the galaxy. Weapons that once belonged only in the realm of science fiction became a reality. Humanity wasn't just preparing to fight, they were preparing to win. The Council might laugh off their warning now, but soon they would learn that underestimating Earth was the greatest mistake they could make. Back in the shadows, humanity's greatest minds worked tirelessly, knowing that soon they would need every advantage they had discovered. The countdown had begun. Earth wasn't just on the verge of a new era, it was on the verge of reshaping the galaxy itself. The world's leaders, sitting in their high-tech command centers, watched the stars, waiting. It was only a matter of time before the invaders arrived, and when they did, humanity would show them that the polite Earth of the past was gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. The Galactic Council was unprepared for what awaited them when they entered Earth's orbit. Their fleet, a formidable armada of warships and battle cruisers, had been carefully planned to intimidate, designed with the finest weaponry and technology the galaxy had ever seen. The Council, certain of their victory, expected a quick submission from Earth. After all, they had seen these kinds of defiant messages from other civilizations before, only to watch them crumble before the might of galactic authority. Earth, however, would not bend. Not this time. The first response from Earth's newly established Earth Defense Coalition was brief but resolute. "We will not submit. You will not rule us." The transmission was received and analyzed by the Council's leaders, who at first dismissed it as a stubborn outburst from a naive planet. They had dealt with species far more powerful and hostile than Earth's isolated population. Their confidence bordered on arrogance. They had no reason to believe Earth posed any significant threat, and yet, something about the message lingered in their minds, a sense of unease that they couldn't shake. The fleet was ordered to approach Earth's capital to negotiate the terms of surrender, a diplomatic measure that would allow the Council to reassert control while avoiding unnecessary conflict. The invading ships descended toward Earth, their sleek, metallic forms cutting through the atmosphere. But as they neared, their sensors flickered and their navigational systems began to behave erratically. It was as if the very fabric of space had warped around them. What they didn't know was that Earth had already put into place a series of planetary-wide defenses, hidden beneath the surface and undetectable by the Council's advanced scanners. These systems had been activated the moment the fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, and they were designed not only to intercept hostile ships, but also to disrupt the sophisticated technologies the Council relied upon. The atmosphere shimmered with energy, and the first ship of the fleet found itself caught in a magnetic field, immobilized in midair. Before the Council could react, a loud, crackling hum echoed through space as Earth's weapons systems, previously thought dormant, came online. The first salvo of energy-based projectiles shot up from the surface, blinding beams of light that tore through space and impacted with the precision of a well-oiled machine. The Council's fleet, despite its technological superiority, was caught off guard. The ships attempted evasive maneuvers, but they were clumsy compared to Earth's strategic brilliance. Their weapons systems, designed to decimate planets, failed to activate. Instead, the human-built defense systems shut them down with ease. At the heart of the chaos, humanity's leaders watched the skies, their faces lit by the flickering lights of their command centers. They had expected a moment like this, the moment when their enemy would underestimate them, the moment when the hidden might of Earth would be revealed. The message they had sent was no longer a simple warning. It was now an ultimatum. Earth would not submit, and Earth was ready to defend itself at any cost. On the surface of Earth, people watched as news networks broadcasted the first signs of the conflict. Streets that were once bustling with ordinary life now buzzed with nervous anticipation. The people of Earth, once divided by borders and political disagreements, now stood united in the face of a common enemy. They had no choice but to hope that their leaders were right, that humanity's long-hidden potential would be enough to defeat the galactic powers that had never once considered the possibility that Earth could fight back. The Council, still reeling from the unexpected resistance, scrambled to organize a counteroffensive. But their initial plan had failed catastrophically. Earth had already shown them that the old rules of power no longer applied. The planet was not just a backwater anymore, it was a force to be reckoned with. And the consequences of underestimating humanity would be felt by the galaxy for years to come. The Council wasn't sure how to proceed. Their grand fleet had been stalled, their weapons neutralized, and their superiority was quickly unraveling. The mightiest powers of the galaxy had met their match, and it wasn't in the form of some ancient alien race or unstoppable weapon. It was in the form of the very human spirit, driven by the strength of unity and an unshakable will to survive. And as the first confrontation drew to a close, Earth's message was clear. No matter how powerful the galaxy thought it was, Earth had just begun. The Galactic Council was stunned. Their fleet had been caught off guard, crippled by a planet they had long considered insignificant. What had started as a simple mission to bring Earth back into the fold of galactic control had now become a battle for survival. The once proud and confident fleets of the galaxy's most powerful species were now reeling, vulnerable, and unsure of how to proceed. The Council's military commanders quickly realized they were facing something new, something they had never encountered before. Earth's military response had been swift, precise, and overwhelmingly effective. Ships they had considered mere primitive toys had come alive, launching devastating counterattacks from the very surface of the planet. Their defenses were far more advanced than anticipated, and they were exploiting every weakness in the Council's formidable arsenal. At the heart of Earth's defense strategy lay one thing the Council had failed to predict: humanity's ability to adapt. The human mind, sharp, resourceful, and driven, had quickly grasped the intricacies of galactic warfare. What the Council had assumed was Earth's ignorance was, in reality, its greatest strength. Humans had spent centuries learning from history, observing the rise and fall of empires, understanding the art of war and diplomacy from every corner of their own planet. This knowledge, combined with their newfound technological advancements, gave them an edge that no one in the galaxy had anticipated. While the Council scrambled to regroup and launch a counteroffensive, Earth's leadership began to unveil even more of their hidden capabilities. The secret weapon was not just their newfound technology, but their unparalleled ability to think and react in ways the galaxy had never seen. The Council, with its vast fleets and advanced weaponry, relied on brute force. But Earth had a weapon far more dangerous: intellect. One of Earth's greatest military leaders, General Elena Kovic, watched from her command center as the screens display the Council's fleet trying to recover. The initial barrage had disrupted their systems, but it was clear the alien forces weren't going to fold easily. She knew Earth's strength lay not just in its weapons, but in its strategies. "We need to hit them where they're weakest," Kovic said, her voice calm but resolute. "They think we're a threat, but they haven't even begun to understand the game we're playing." Her team had been working around the clock to crack the Council's communication codes, and now they were ready to exploit a fatal flaw in the enemy's chain of command. The galactic empires had long relied on centralized communication systems, with key leaders issuing commands that were then disseminated through their fleets. Earth, on the other hand, had built a decentralized network. Their communication systems were designed to be independent and adaptable, immune to any single point of failure. Using this advantage, Kovic's team launched a calculated cyberstrike, sending misinformation and false orders across the Council's communication channels. The result was chaos. Ships suddenly turned on each other, fleets veered off course, and commanders found themselves helpless, caught in a web of confusion. "We've got them," Kovic muttered, a cold smile forming on her lips. "They're more fragile than they look." This was the turning point. The Galactic Council had prided itself on its superior coordination, its ability to fight as a unified force. But Earth's actions had shattered that unity, turning their most powerful fleets into disorganized factions that no longer fought as one. And it wasn't just technology that caused this disruption. It was humanity's psychological warfare. The Council, for all their strength and sophistication, had never encountered an enemy who could manipulate not just their weapons, but their minds. Back in the Council's command center, panic was beginning to set in. The high-ranking officials could see the breakdown happening in real time. Their fleet's power was diminishing rapidly, their once-feared arsenal rendered useless in the face of Earth's ingenuity. Their advanced weaponry they had once believed could wipe out entire planets, was now being systematically neutralized. No matter how many fleets they sent, Earth had an answer ready. And the answer wasn't just force. It was intelligence, adaptability, and resolve. The Council's once unshakable confidence was now eroding. Each new setback felt like a blow to their ego, to their sense of dominance. They had underestimated Earth in the worst possible way. They thought they could intimidate and control humanity with superior weapons, but they had miscalculated. Earth's greatest strength was its resilience, its capacity to learn, adapt, and fight back with an intensity that no galactic power had ever witnessed. And so, as the battle continued to unfold, one truth became undeniable. Earth's hidden advantage wasn't just its technology, it was humanity itself. The very thing the galaxy had once seen as its greatest weakness was now its most powerful weapon. The Council was learning that the hard way, and the rest of the galaxy would soon know it too. As the battle against the Galactic Council raged on, something incredible began to happen. The human spirit, once fragmented by centuries of political and social division, had united in the face of a common threat. Nations that had once been bitter rivals now worked together with a single purpose: the survival and defense of Earth. From the deepest underground bunkers to the high-tech command centers, humanity's most brilliant minds were now collaborating like never before. The defense was no longer just a military campaign. It had become a global movement, a united front fueled by a shared goal of independence and defiance. In every corner of Earth, from the gleaming skyscrapers of New York City to the remote villages in the Himalayas, people took action. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, and civilians all found ways to contribute to the war effort. The world had never been so united, and it was that unity that gave Earth its true strength. At the front lines of this global effort was the Earth Defense Coalition, EDC, a military and strategic alliance formed from the world's strongest powers. Under the leadership of General Elena Kovac, the EDC had begun to turn the tide against the Galactic Council's superior forces. Humanity had learned how to fight not just with weapons, but with their minds. They knew how to exploit weaknesses, disrupt communications, and turn the very technologies of the invaders against them. But what truly gave them an edge was their unwavering resolve, a determination to protect their home at all costs. It wasn't just the military forces that rallied. Earth's civilian population, now mobilized and deeply invested in the war, provided vital resources and intelligence. Former tech experts, engineers, and even ordinary citizens had joined the ranks of Earth's defense effort. People in factories worked around the clock, producing weapons and supplies. Universities became breeding grounds for new military innovations. The global economy, once fractured and struggling under the weight of numerous crises, had been transformed into a war machine, operating at maximum efficiency. And at every step, Earth's citizens felt a deep, collective responsibility. The Council had never expected this. They had underestimated not just Earth's technological prowess, but humanity's ability to adapt and work together toward a common goal. The political structures that once divided humanity had evaporated. Old grudges were set aside in favor of the singular purpose of defending the planet. The Council's intelligence networks, accustomed to working in isolation and secrecy, had no way of anticipating the level of coordination that Earth was capable of. Meanwhile, on the front lines, the EDC had launched a bold offensive, pushing back the alien invaders with calculated precision. Their ships, though smaller and less advanced than the Council's, had been outfitted with the best of Earth's technology, powered by energy sources extracted from deep within the planet's core, and weapons designed to exploit the Council's weaknesses. These new human-built ships were faster, more agile, and surprisingly resilient. They could take hits that would destroy older, more advanced ships and keep fighting. They didn't have the firepower of the Council's mighty dreadnoughts, but what they lacked in size and power, they made up for in strategy, surprise, and sheer tenacity. One such strike came when the EDC managed to infiltrate a key command ship of the Galactic Council. Using a combination of cyber warfare and expert subterfuge, a small team of human operatives breached the Council's highly secure communications system. They broadcast a message directly to the Council's fleet, one that would echo across the galaxy. "We are Earth, and we will no longer be your subjects. Prepare for the consequences of your arrogance." The message struck like a thunderclap across the galaxy. It wasn't just a declaration of defiance. It was a warning that Earth had already become something far more dangerous than the Galactic Council had ever imagined. No longer would humanity play the role of the subjugated. The Council had pushed Earth to the edge, and now the tables were turning. As the Council's fleet began to fragment and scatter, the impact of Earth's unified front became clear. The mightiest empires of the galaxy, accustomed to dealing with weak, fractured planets, now faced an adversary unlike any they had encountered before. Earth had shown them that their unity was their greatest weapon, and the power of a united humanity was enough to bring even the most invincible fleets to their knees. Back on Earth, the victory was not just celebrated by the military. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it worked together. No longer divided by borders, ideologies, or differences, the people of Earth had proven that their strength lay in their ability to come together when it mattered most. The battle was far from over, but the message had been made clear. The era of Earth's politeness had ended, and with it, the galaxy would never be the same. The shockwaves of Earth's defiance rippled through the Galactic Council with unprecedented force. For centuries, the powerful empires of the galaxy had ruled with an iron fist, relying on overwhelming military might and technological superiority to keep order. Never had they encountered an adversary like Earth. The message broadcast from the human command ship was now infamous across the galaxy, reverberating through the farthest reaches of space, catching the attention of even the most remote and isolated civilizations. Earth, a seemingly insignificant world, had risen up and, in the eyes of many, shattered the unspoken rule of galactic order. The balance of power was shifting. The Council, initially confident that Earth's message was nothing more than a bluff, now found themselves in a crisis of confidence. While the lower-ranking commanders were still scrambling to make sense of the unexpected turn of events, the Council's highest authorities convened in an emergency session, facing a dire question: how to deal with this unprecedented threat. The first speaker of the Zoran, whose species had once stood at the pinnacle of galactic power, opened the session with an icy tone, his voice laced with frustration. "We underestimated them. This is a matter of pride. Earth must be brought to heel. They cannot be allowed to continue this defiance." He was met with murmurs of agreement, but not all were so quick to follow the traditional path. Elric, the Velcori representative, who had once warned the Council about Earth's growing potential, now stood as the lone dissenting voice in the room. His sharp eyes flicked to the holographic projections of Earth's rapidly evolving war tactics. "We are missing the point. This is not just about defeating Earth in battle. This is about understanding their essence. Humanity, for all their apparent flaws, has proven something we cannot ignore. They are adaptive. They are unpredictable. And they fight not just with weapons, but with an ingenuity that defies our expectations." The first speaker scowled. "Are you suggesting we retreat? That we accept defeat from a primitive species?" Elric's tone was calm but insistent. "I am suggesting that we reconsider our approach. To engage Earth in total war would be catastrophic, not only for them, but for us. The galaxy's unity could be at risk if this turns into a prolonged conflict. Their resilience has proven that they will not be subdued easily. Their resolve is unlike anything we've encountered. If we push them too far, we might end up facing a war on multiple fronts, one that the Council is not prepared for." A silence fell over the room as the gravity of Elric's words sank in. While the galactic empires were vast, they were also stretched thin, and internal dissent simmered beneath the surface. The idea of a unified front was often more theoretical than practical, with many species only reluctantly cooperating under the Council's banner. Any misstep in dealing with Earth could lead to a fracturing of this fragile alliance. Another voice, the representative from the Daxu, a species known for their cold logic and tactical brilliance, spoke up. "Perhaps it is time to negotiate. If Earth is as formidable as we have seen, we should offer them terms. They may be willing to form an alliance, one where they are treated as an equal rather than a subordinate." The Daxu's approach was met with skepticism from the more aggressive factions, but the idea of avoiding a costly war began to take root. The debate raged for hours, with no clear consensus. But amid the discussion, it became painfully evident that Earth was no longer a planet to be ignored. If they couldn't defeat Earth swiftly and decisively, the galaxy would be faced with a situation where diplomacy might be the only viable solution. Back on Earth, the humans were preparing for whatever would come next. General Kovac, standing at the helm of Earth's unified military force, watched the galaxy's reactions unfold on their communication screens. She knew the Council had underestimated them at first, but now they were scrambling to regain control. Earth's unity and its unexpected technological prowess had given them the advantage. Kovac had no illusions, though. The battle was far from over. "We've shown them that we can fight," she said to her commanders. "But the real test will come in how we handle what's next. The Council will likely send an envoy soon, perhaps with offers of peace. Don't mistake that for weakness. We need to stay vigilant." The human military had made remarkable strides, but Kovac knew that Earth's future wouldn't be decided by weapons alone. This would be a war of minds, of strategy, and most importantly, of choices. The Council could offer peace, or they could double down on war. Either way, Earth would make sure that no one ever looked at them as a backwater world again. And far from the political battlegrounds of the Council, the people of Earth were ready. Their resolve was stronger than ever. This wasn't just a battle for survival, it was a battle for respect. And humanity would never give in. The Galactic Council, now fully aware that Earth was no longer a passive, defenseless world, began to rethink its strategies. The initial plans of overwhelming military superiority had failed miserably, and their forces were now stretched thin, vulnerable to human tactics and adaptability. The Council's high command knew that continuing the fight could lead to an irreparable fracture within their ranks, something that could leave them exposed to other threats within the galaxy. And perhaps the most concerning factor was the possibility that Earth, once seen as a primitive backwater, was evolving into a power capable of changing the course of galactic history. After days of intense deliberation, the Council decided that they could not afford to further antagonize Earth. Their options had narrowed, and a new plan was set into motion: diplomatic engagement. It was a risk, a gamble that would either placate Earth or further provoke the volatile human spirit. But in the face of mounting pressure, diplomacy seemed to be the only way forward. A diplomatic envoy was dispatched from the Galactic Council, a carefully selected group of ambassadors chosen for their ability to negotiate under pressure. They were tasked with opening a line of communication with Earth's leaders. It was clear that the Council now saw Earth as an equal, or, at the very least, a threat that couldn't be ignored. But the Council's offer wasn't one of full cooperation. It was one of forced partnership, one that would secure their influence over Earth's future, while still allowing the planet to retain a semblance of autonomy. The envoy's leader, Ambassador Valrath, a well-respected figure in the Council, arrived on Earth under the guise of a peaceful negotiation. He and his team landed on a neutral platform in orbit, a shimmering vessel that floated just beyond Earth's atmosphere. From there, a message was transmitted to Earth's leadership, requesting a direct face-to-face conversation with General Elena Kovac and other key figures within the Earth Defense Coalition. Kovac, aware that the Council's sudden shift in approach was both an opportunity and a trap, called for a meeting of her advisors. She gathered with her closest allies in the sprawling command center beneath the surface of a remote military base. The holographic displays cast an eerie glow over the room as they pored over the intel they had gathered. "We all know what this is," Kovac said, her voice sharp and confident. "The Council is trying to negotiate terms. They've realized they can't win this war, but make no mistake, this isn't about peace. It's about ensuring they still have some influence over Earth. They're desperate to secure some kind of agreement." Her chief strategist, Lieutenant Martin, leaned forward, his face etched with concern. "And they're hoping that we'll agree to something that gives them control in the long run. What if we accept their offer on the surface but turn the tables on them later? Or," said Dr. Alana Yu, Earth's top scientist, "we could refuse entirely. But that would risk escalating the situation into a full-scale galactic war. We've proven we can defend ourselves, but can we sustain this? We're still outnumbered, and there are factions in the galaxy that might be more aggressive than the Council. We need to tread carefully." Kovac's gaze swept across the room, each of her advisors waiting for her decision. There was no easy path, and time was running out. Earth had proven its strength, but a calculated diplomatic move could ensure they would never again be treated as weak. After a long pause, Kovac spoke with resolve. "We will meet with their envoy, but we do it on our terms. We listen, we understand their offer, and we make it clear that Earth is no longer a planet to be dominated. We don't need them, but we will not back down. We're prepared to play the game, but we set the rules." The room was silent as everyone processed her decision. Kovac's words were not just about negotiation, they were about establishing Earth's position in the galaxy. The message was clear: humanity would no longer be anyone's pawn. In orbit, Ambassador Valrath and his team were waiting. The human envoy, led by General Kovac, prepared for a historic meeting that would determine the future of Earth. As the two groups finally came face to face, the tension was palpable. The alien ambassadors, with their cold, calculating eyes, stared down at the humans with a mixture of respect and caution. They were not dealing with a world of meek explorers anymore. They were facing a people who had just proven they could stand toe-to-toe with the mightiest forces in the galaxy. Kovac's expression was unrateable, her every move calculated. Earth had endured, and now it was time to ensure that humanity's place in the cosmos was one of strength, not submission. The negotiation was about to begin, and the stakes had never been higher. The meeting between the Earth Defense Coalition and the Galactic Council's diplomatic envoy was nothing short of historic. The representatives from both sides sat across from one another in a sleek, high-tech meeting room aboard Earth's newly constructed diplomatic flagship. The hum of quiet machinery was the only sound, underscoring the tense atmosphere. On one side of the table, the members of the Galactic Council, each from different species, their eyes filled with curiosity and wariness, studied the human delegation. On the other side, General Elena Kovac and her team sat poised, resolute, ready to make Earth's stance clear. Ambassador Valrath, leader of the Council's envoy, spoke first. His voice was measured, a touch of artificial calm masking the urgency beneath his words. General Kovac, representatives of Earth, we come in peace. The Galactic Council recognizes the strength and resilience your species has displayed. We have seen your capabilities, and we believe it is in our mutual interest to forge an agreement that benefits both parties. Kovac's eyes narrowed, but her voice remained steady. Forging an agreement implies a level playing field. We are no longer in a position where we seek your approval or protection. We stand as equals, not subjects. And make no mistake, Earth is no longer at your mercy. Our strength, our resolve, has shown that we do not need the Council. The room fell silent for a moment. Ambassador Valrath exchanged looks with his team. They had expected some resistance, but not this level of defiance. He cleared his throat, clearly trying to regain the upper hand. Of course, General. Earth's actions have proven that you are a formidable force. But we believe there is still room for cooperation, for mutual growth. The Galactic Council offers you resources, knowledge, and access to the vast networks that span the galaxy. In exchange, Earth would join the galactic community, albeit under the Council's oversight. There would be protections, trade, and alliances, but we must ensure a level of oversight to prevent further conflicts. Kovac leaned back slightly, her expression unchanged. Oversight, she repeated, her voice laced with disbelief. You offer us your protection in exchange for continued control. That is not a partnership. It is a leash. Earth will not be chained to anyone. Not now, not ever. You will not dominate us under any guise. The tension in the room escalated. The representatives from the Council shifted uncomfortably. This was not the response they had expected. They had hoped that by offering Earth technology and resources, they could mollify the humans, bringing them into the fold of galactic rule. Instead, they were facing an opponent who not only fought back, but demanded equal standing. Ambassador Valrath hesitated before responding, his voice tinged with a rare moment of vulnerability. We recognize your strength, General, but the galaxy is vast and dangerous. Even with your technological advancements, there are forces out there, ruthless factions, that would seek to exploit a world like Earth for their own gain. The Council offers you a shield, a way to navigate the complexities of galactic politics. Without us, you will face challenges beyond your comprehension. Kovac's lips curved into a slight smile, but it was not one of agreement. It was a smile that signified the dawning of a new era for humanity. You underestimate us. Earth has faced extinction before. We survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. But we always came through because we never backed down. We've spent millennia building our resolve, our capabilities. And now we stand not as your underlings, but as your equals. We do not need your protection." For a moment, the room was still, as if the very fabric of reality itself was holding its breath. The representatives from the council understood the gravity of Kovac's words. Earth had just declared its sovereignty, no longer a planet to be manipulated or controlled, and the implications were profound. General Kovac continued, her voice carrying an unshakable resolve. "The Galactic Council will either treat Earth as an equal partner or be forced to reckon with the consequences of your actions. Humanity will not bow to any power, no matter how mighty. We've learned, we've adapted, and we're prepared to face whatever comes next. But know this, we are not asking for your protection. We are offering you the opportunity to work alongside us, to join a galaxy where Earth no longer submits." Ambassador Valrath, after a long pause, nodded slowly. The weight of her words settled over him, and he understood that humanity was not just defending their planet. They were laying the foundation for something far greater, a new order in the galaxy, one where the old hierarchies no longer reigned. "Very well," Valrath said, his voice carrying a hint of respect. "Earth will be treated as an equal. But understand that while you are no longer under our control, the galaxy is still vast. There are factions we cannot predict, forces we cannot foresee. We will stand by you, but in your own way, you will have to fight for your place among us. Do not mistake this as a sign of weakness. It is the first step toward a new future, one where Earth has the opportunity to shape its destiny." Kovac stood, her posture commanding. "Earth will fight. We always have. But now we fight on our terms. Welcome to the new reality." As the meeting concluded, the ambassadors from the Galactic Council departed, leaving Earth's leadership to contemplate the future. A future where humanity, once seen as insignificant, would no longer be a passive observer, but an active force shaping the fate of the galaxy. Earth had taken its place, and there was no turning back. The era of Politeness had ended. The dawn of a new age had begun.